I'm Dave. This is the Cyderbaby podcast for Rock Radio UK, and today I am interviewing the very legendary Scott from Rival Sons.
I'm here being interviewed by the very legendary Dave.
You'd lie.
Happy to be here. How are you, man? You all right?
I'm good. You're looking well. You're looking relaxed, chilled. You've got a tour on the way.
Yeah. So what are we, up on our fourth date tonight?
Yeah.
It's been wonderful. It's really nice to start in the UK. It's kind of interesting. We haven't been here properly in so long. We came for the Pressure and Time 10th anniversary.
That was it.
And it was a proper tour and everything, but we weren't touring new music. We were working on these records, and it was that, like, right on the cusp of that post-pandemic thing. It was that first summer. It was weird. A lot of people didn't want to come out. There was a lot of politics involved, and it was just there was just a lot of BS around it. It was hard.
Yeah.
So it wasn't normal. That's what I'll say. It wasn't totally normal. So it feels really good to come not only back to Europe, but to start here in the UK, which feels very close to us.
I've got to say, I've seen you rise over the years. We went to a Judas Priest concert.
Yeah.
For his He Who Must Not Be Named, Oren. His 13th birthday, was it?
Yeah, 13th or 14th.
Yeah, something like that. It was his 13th birthday. We went to see Judas Priest, just expecting to see Judas Priest. And this band just blew everybody away who was in the auditorium. And it happened to be you.
It wasn't Queen's Wreck. They went on after us.
No, we skip over that because that was a bit of a non-starter, really. But I mean, it was the first I'd heard of you. The first I'd come across your music. I mean,
yeah, that was our first real big tour through the UK and through Europe, and we had been asked by Judas Priest to do this tour, and our agent was sure this was a good idea, and we were. I mean, I personally, especially if you think about the band at the beginning, I wasn't sure, but I felt fairly confident it was a bad idea. Not because I don't love Priest, and I wanted to tour with them, but I thought, man, are people is that a good match? Like, it's a very bluesier thing at this time. You know what I mean? We still were playing things like Get What's Coming, but there was a lot of like soul and torture, and like those were the records. I don't even know, was there Pressure in Time? I don't even, that had just dropped.
I think so.
That was brand new. Okay, so I just thought, we hadn't toured the UK. We're going out with the most legendary leather metal band possibly on earth, and we thought for sure they would just throw things at us. Specifically, we thought we're going to get piss bottles. People are not going to want to hear us, but you know what? We're going to do it. We're just going to do it, and it was a total pleasant surprise. We went out and we were really welcomed with open arms every night. We got some standing ovations, and we made good friends with the Priest guys, and Rob was super lovely and had really inspiring words to say to us about what we were doing in our show. And it was just a really great introduction, and it gave me a lot of confidence and faith in the people over here and what we were doing and how it would be very hand in glove.
Yeah. I mean, I saw you then later in the year with Blackstone Cherry.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
that's got to be the only gig I remember. Most of that was
that was a fun tour. Really,
it was a great
guys.
Gig.
Yeah, those guys were really sweet fellows.
Yeah. But I've seen you rise and rise. I mean, did you ever imagine you'd be at this level you are at now?
Oh, you got to understand, I've been doing it a minute. If you're doing it like the way we're doing it, and so many people, we live in delusions of grandeur. Since we were, 13 years old, we imagined to be much bigger. It's just part of it.
but it's very rare now. The industry has changed so much, hasn't it, over the last 20 years, I would say?
Tremendously. Specifically, I think towards rock and roll music. It's like the fall of the Roman Empire, huh? It's, at one time rock and roll sat high on the throne and was pop music. That's really, even pop was just shoulder to shoulder with rock and roll. You have like through the 80s, hair metal bands, and before that, of course, 70s, 60s. These pop acts were really the biggest thing going. They broke open and invented arena touring and stuff like that. and rock and roll's in a different space now. We don't see it as much. It's definitely not shoulder to shoulder with pop by any means. So it feels like we're kind of where we make jokes all the time, like, "Hey, rock and roll, welcome to where jazz and soul and funk and so many different genres of music have lived forever." They're like, "Oh, welcome to the party. Yeah, come on in. It's nice in here," and that's okay. Things are cyclical. Things are going to move how they're going to move. Frankly, this band never chased anything like that. We were never like chasing a trend when we started the band. When I started the band a long time ago, I just had ideas in my head about rock and roll and what kind of rock and roll I wanted to put out and write and tour. It wasn't exactly happening. There were a few things at that time, things like Jet and Wolf Mother had kind of breached. And of course, the biggest acts were still working, but nothing new was really poking its head out. And I wanted to do something a little bit turned, like Jack White, great artists, but it was really fewer in between. The scene hadn't kind of bumped up. So I wasn't really even thinking we would be exactly in that world. I just thought I want to contribute somewhere in that spectrum, So I'm completely comfortable not living on an island, not chasing. Just Rival Sons has always been an island. We're comfortable with that now, and I think releasing our 8th and 9th albums this year, I've just become comfortable realizing this is where we live. That's cool. It's all right. We found our fans and our public, and it's constantly growing, and we're comfortable.
8th and 9th album. Yeah. Dark Fighter, Lightbringer. Tell me about the ideas then. I mean, you've probably said this a million times to a million different press people like myself. But,
what was the idea behind having two?
Yeah.
Well, it started out as one. As soon as we lost the tour at the beginning of the pandemic, we kind of held up and went, what are we going to do? And then the second tour dropped just weeks later, and we went, that's it. We're basically closing the book on Feral Roots, and we're going to get ready to move forward and start writing immediately on the next album. That's it. Because we still had a summer of tours, and we were working on Shooting Stars. We still had we were finishing that album cycle.
Yeah.
But as soon as the second tour stopped, it was we're not working. We're not going to work. We're not going to get to promote. We're not going to get to tour this. We should just start writing right now. And then after me and Jay talked about writing this record and what we wanted to do, we decided it would be cool to take our time, that this pandemic would probably serve us in a good way to slow down. And it's been over a decade since we really kicked it into gear, and we haven't really stopped. We go home for the holidays. We go home for a month, or whatever.
Yeah.
Did 13 months with Sabbath. And it was pretty on, you know what I mean? So we just felt like, I have kids, he has kids. We felt like, I want to slow down. I want to just write. And it's important for artists to have downtime.
Yeah.
Because you got to think and you got to live in your own skin and be who you are. That's what helps inspire, and it rests your mind and your ideas to become renewed and fresh again. So we had that moment with the pandemic, and we took our time, and we started to write. We started to record. We weren't able to get in with our producer because of the pandemic. He had shut the studio down. So we just worked from home and passed songs back and forth for a long time, and started to focus and see what we wanted to focus on. And then we got a week with our producer. We took the songs we liked the best, go in, record. And while we were in, we got creative and even wrote a little bit in there. Recorded what we wanted to record and wrote some new stuff, kind of started it. And we would bring that stuff we started home and finish it. We all have studios at home, so finish stuff and contribute and even write new stuff. And like this, go back and forth. That ended up lasting, could come home for a month or two, get another week in the studio, come home for another month or two or three, and keep working through that period, and then go back in for a week or two with Dave. And then that worked that way for maybe 2 years.
Okay.
So it's wild. I mean, that this is tour. We couldn't do anything. So this is a healthy thing for us to do.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's got to be the longest break between albums for you guys. I mean, you've been fairly prolific over the last decade or so. So, do you think you've had time to change the way you write as well? I know the pandemic has forcibly altered the way you've written, but do you think you've evolved a little bit more over that time?
100% consciously. Before we started the record, me and Jay had several conversations of how we wanted to do it and how focused we wanted to be. And it's similar in the way that we always do a kill your darlings type of ethos. If something isn't really sticking to the ribs, we let it go. You know what I mean? If we just really remained very focused, he and I, before we let too much out. And in the past, we had done a little bit of that, but we kind of wrote a lot in the studio too with our producer, with the other guys kind of working with us together. This record really marks where Jay and I kind of went aside and really wrote up an album. And there were still tracks where we popped up and did them, tracks like Sweet Life.
Yeah.
And there was parts that we wrote in the studio, but for the most part, we really kind of had a really clear view on what these albums would be like. And to answer your previous question, we just wrote. It wasn't going to be 2 albums. It was one big arc.
Right.
We laid the songs out as an album. It was just too long, you know, and it was dense, but still special. You know, for us, it was still special, and it was saying everything we wanted to say. There wasn't things we wanted to cut down. We felt it was all crucial.
Yeah.
And I promise that it was still a Kill Your Darlings idea. We did lose some stuff, but what we had there was so important, what we had left, and it would have been maybe an hour, 15, hour 20, hour and a half, something. It's too much. And when I thought about it like that, most of my favorite records are 35 minutes long.
Yeah.
That's how I like records. It's really digestible. I can really get a concept and a sound and an identity from 35 minutes, maybe 40 minutes at the most, you know. You start getting into 45 to an hour, you're getting a couple different identities, and it's hard to solidify those identities in that short of a time. So these 2 records allowed us to kind of go, here's one chapter, and here is the second chapter, you know, the third act or whatever. And as soon as we talked about it, Jay was really attached to the idea of a refractory period, getting to digest the music. Of course, we're in a very short attention span era right now where people don't really have more than 15 seconds to look at things, do
TikTok.
they? Who knows how much of this? They're going to just want little clips of this interview, just this much. Yeah, it's the TikTok environment right now that we're in. So this lends itself to that as well. It's, you know, you can really digest these 2 albums. They're just over 30 minutes each.
Yeah.
So it was really clear. We have a record that kind of deals with struggle and despair. And there's still light and shade on both albums, but one record predominantly is talking about struggle.
Yeah.
And it swirls down until the very end, ends with Dark Side, pulls you into the deepest, darkest hole, the darkest part of that record, and we leave you there, and then you're about to get LightBringer now, and you probably haven't heard that record yet, because it's not out of...
I couldn't possibly say.
I don't know if you've got an advance on that, but everyone will hear it, and that record, the idea was to kind of like push you up through that whole thing, and kind of, it's a very, not overly uplifting record, but it's a record that is thinking with its higher self, I guess. I think lyrically, that a lot of the ideas in the song titles, you can hear Dark Fighters, the opening track. It's like a real sprawling type of track we wanted to write. And it's open. It's been really beautiful and special to us that we even started before Fell Roots. Mercy, these song titles, you know, Sweet Life, Mosaic, so, you know, Redemption, these kinds of titles you can already hear. Yeah. This is an upwelling. This is something to pull you back up, you know. This is, the first record illustrates how far we can come down. The second record illustrates how far we can come up in that, like, reflection.
Okay. I mean, I have heard the new album. It is superb, I've got to say.
Thanks. Thank you, Dave.
I always thought Pressure and Time would be your benchmark album, but I think these two together are the crown.
I appreciate that. Well, you never know. I feel like our band is the kind of band that could, we don't want to alienate anybody, but we're certainly not writing records so we hang on to all of our fans. We're writing records to move and do something artistically that we're compelled to do and that feels real to us and honest and genuine. So when the fans who do want to stick around for it see it, they feel it. And they can say, like, oh, these guys aren't fucking around. They're making music from their heart. Whether it's going to shake off a few fans or not, that's what's important, And my favorite artists, that's how they've been. They push it. They push themselves. We were even talking about filmmakers last night, or big like pop film guys like Wes Anderson, Tarantino, and I was talking about both of their latest films, the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And one of the guys was saying, not into it. And I'm like, I liked it, but I liked the history of that film. The Manson family, Sharon Tate, Polanski, and like I remember learning all about that and going, wow, that was a really far out thing that happened and tragic. And then Tarantino rewrote it, and the pacing of it's very long form and slow. It's like the artist is really taking his time. It suited me, but it might not suit everybody. Or Wes Anderson's latest film. What was the last one he did? Asteroid City. Okay. Same. It's long. There's a lot of breath in it. There's huge like dialogue sections, and a lot of people will just go, that one's just not quite as punchy, For me, they're making films where they're feeling like they can let me push my own boundaries with what I do. Like, let me take the thing I was good at and try to push out. For us, we're pushing out as much as we can and trying to just test ourselves, test our audience. And if it doesn't work for everyone, that's okay. I'm not mad at those fans that are like, I like the EP, or I like Pressure and Time. That's what I liked about you guys, and it never got better. I get it. How many people say that Led Zeppelin 1, it never got better with Zeppelin? That's a type of person. You're not going to change their mind.
Yeah, that's very true.
I'm quite comfortable if your favorite record is Great Western Valkyrie and you don't even like Feral Roots or anything beyond, that's okay with me. But I can say, without any pretension or beyond without any doubt, that we're making music that we believe in, that we certainly want everyone to come along with us for, but it's honest and genuine, and that's really all you should ask of the art you are looking for, Yeah.
I mean, in the UK, we've got I suppose it's a group of people. It's a new wave of classic rock. It's been gathering momentum over the last few years, but I do believe that you guys were quite instrumental in bringing people back to the classic rock sound and inspiring a lot of new bands. So how do you feel about that? I mean, when you look back.
Happy. I don't know how much I can speak to a genre of classic rock, new classic rock bands. It's kind of strange, but I will speak to the point of inspiring anybody. And I've been fortunate to have met a bunch of young people that have been inspired by the work we've done, and I'm honored and I'm so happy because I rely so much on my inspiration throughout time. Any new bands still to this day, young and old bands that I discover, are like the lifeblood for a musician, So if I'm contributing in a positive way to that and making people want to pick up guitars or drums or sing or write songs, I'm really honored by that. That's the ultimate compliment. It's something that I'm very happy about.
Speaking of guitars, you have got quite a collection, haven't you?
I've got a few, yeah.
Go on, pick two favorites.
It's difficult. I every record I have guitars made if I can, to kind of change the sound or maybe to accommodate something. On these records, I've had this really beautiful, based on a Gretsch Billy Bow, My great friend Matt Hughes of Banker Custom Guitars put me this beautiful double neck. It's a double Billy bow, and it's truly one of a kind. I had seen something that Gretsch did years and years ago with a 12 string and a 6 string of a double Billy bow, but I wanted to do a baritone 6 string because I have a handful of songs that are baritone tuned, and I wanted to make it really audacious, just one pickup on each neck, and just a very simple, clean, beautiful wood instrument that's really big with this audacious shape of the Billy bow, which is like kind of pointy and strange. So I love that guitar. I think it's particularly special. I have so many great guitars. Got several built by Doug Cower that I just absolutely love. A guitar called Excalibur, which is kind of an off-white, very road-worn Firebird guitar by Doug Cower that's lovely, that I've used for years and years now. I think I got it around the time of Great Western Valkyrie.
Okay.
I have a 62 Jazzmaster that I love very much, and I actually just brought out a 66 330. That's a beautiful instrument. I'm using it to play a song off of LightBringer called Mosaic.
Okay. Well, I'm going to wrap it up there because I've taken up too much of your time already. It's been wonderful to speak to you.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the fans now, just to round things off?
You guys honor us every time we come through here. It really is, not to sound too cliche, it really is a home away from home for us. To be completely honest, we've had more fun touring here than at home. We've been looking forward to it from the moment we started booking this tour. So it's lovely to be back and be welcomed in the way we have been for so many years here. And I hope everybody enjoys Dark Fighter and Lightbringer.
Thank you, Scott.
Cheers, man.